This CCS-TV program is proudly sponsored by the Chautauqua Sports Hall of Fame, honoring and preserving the rich sports history of Chautauqua County, New York.
Next on CCS-TV Community Conversation, we're headed to the ballpark. The Jamestown Tarp Skunks are gearing up for another exciting season, and this year, every home game will be brought live right here on CCS-TV. I'll be joined by two guests who know this team inside and out. Dre Guinness, the voice of the Skunks, and our very own Jason Sample, who helped lead last year's Christmas in July broadcast. We'll look back on favorite memories, preview the 2025 season, and talk about a one-of-a-kind mentorship program that's giving students a chance to learn from the pros, all while sharing America's pastime with viewers near and far. Plus, we'll let you know how you can get involved and support this incredible community partnership. And that, more coming up next on CCS TV Community Conversation. Stay with us.
Welcome to the Chautauqua Sports Hall of Fame, located at 15 West 3rd Street in Jamestown. Visitors will see photographs, awards, apparel, and other sports memorabilia. We invite all visitors to stop in the Chautauqua Sports Hall of Fame and learn about the sports history of Chautauqua County.
At Southern Chautauqua Federal Credit Union, we believe in supporting our community and helping you achieve your financial goals and strive to make a positive impact for our members and the community. Our mission is to empower individuals with the skills and resources necessary to achieve financial freedom. As our members and the community achieve their goals, we fulfill ours, creating a brighter future together. Southern Chautauqua Federal Credit Union, your partner in financial well-being.
Looking to feed the family, the whole team, or just your own hungry self? Honest John's has you covered. We're talking fresh-made subs, crispy wings, and pizza so good you might just start happy dancing. Trust Honest John's for takeout, delivery, and easy online ordering so you can get the goods without lifting more than a finger. Or stop in for our famous all-you-can-eat pizza buffet. From crispy wings to cheesy pies, Honest John's satisfies. Order now at honestjohns.pizza.
Hello, and welcome to another edition of CCS TV Community Conversation. I'm Patrick Smeraldo, President of Collaborative Children's Solutions, and I'm excited to be back in the studio for a very special episode, one that combines summertime fun, community spirit, and hands-on youth empowerment. Today, we're talking all things Tarp Skunks baseball, beloved hometown baseball team, and the exciting plans in store for the 2025 summer season. Last year, CCS TV proudly teamed up with the Tarp Skunks for a Christmas in July game day broadcast. That production, powered by our student broadcasters and technical crew, was a smash hit. So much so, it laid the foundation for something even bigger. This year, we're taking it to the next level, thanks to a new three-way partnership between Collaborative Children's Solutions, the Jamestown Tarp Skunks, and the Chautauqua Sports Hall of Fame. We're bringing live broadcasts of every home game straight to viewers on CCS TV. Joining me to dig in all of this are two very special guests. First, Jason Sample, CCS TV mentor and veteran broadcaster, who led our student crew last year's Christmas in July game coverage. And next to him, we are thrilled to have Dre Guinness, the Tarp Skunks official play-by-play voice for the 2025 season, who will be leading the charge behind the mic and all alongside our announcers all summer long. Gentlemen, welcome to the conversation.
Hi, Patrick. Thanks for having us.
Thank you
very much for having us.
Thank you for having us. Well, we're kicking off what promotes to be an incredible summer for CCS TV, the Tarp Skunks, and our partners at the Chautauqua Sports Hall of Fame. And I gotta say, we're fired up to start this adventure after the success of last year's Christmas in July game. Everyone in this community has a story that starts at Dietrich Park. Families, friends, baseball fans, we've all been coming here for years. So let's start there. How long have the two of you been baseball fans in Jamestown? Jason, we'll start with you.
Well, thanks for having me, Patrick.
Thank you.
Of course, you're doing a great thing here with this program. I'm happy to be a part of it. Falconer native, went to Falconer High School, spent a lot of time in Jamestown as a result. So my familiarity with College Park at the time and now Dietrich Park goes all the way back to the 80s when the Jamestown Expos played there. You know, Randy Johnson. I don't ever remember seeing Randy Johnson play, but that era, I can remember going down to the ballpark in the late 80s, the mid 80s. They would always have community buyout nights, same as they do now with Pepsi, and they were a huge sponsor. And I can remember having a big, long Pepsi ticket, picking it up at the supermarket, Quality Markets at the time, and then having it in hand, going with my mom and my brother and my cousins, and spending the night at the ballpark. And we did that a lot during the summers growing up. When I was in school, and of course even afterward when the Jamestown Jammers came on the scene, I think in 1994. That was an exciting time because what's a jammer? Why are we changing the name? And of course, when you're a kid or even a young adult, you don't really care too much as long as there's baseball being played at the stadium. And we always enjoyed going there. I think it was something that my friends and I would do just about any night during the summertime that we were free and available. Our parents would drive down, drop us off at the stadium, give us $5 each, go in, watch a baseball game, enjoy hanging out with friends, go over maybe to AJ's afterward and getting some food. But it was just a great experience, great memories, and it continues to this day with the Tarp Skunks. And I think it's just a wonderful program to have here in the city. Even if it's no longer professional baseball, single-A baseball, the quality of the play and the passion that the players have is second to none. And I think it's just a wonderful thing to see continued. So yeah, I've been a longtime fan of baseball in Jamestown, and I continue to hope that happens for years to come.
So many of those memories that you bring up sound so familiar to me as well. Dre, how about you?
Well, I'm on the other end of the spectrum. I grew up in California, Northern California, San Francisco Bay Area. And then bounced around the country. I've lived in Atlanta, Georgia, Boise, Idaho. This is only my third year actually living in Jamestown. And last year was my first year even knowing the Tarp Skunks existed. And just through fortune was able to, find my way up to the broadcast booth. But, I've been around and I've seen a lot of minor league parks, especially down in the South. Birmingham Barons was a big one because I spent a lot of time working in Alabama in another professional sports industry. And so I've had a chance to see different levels of ballpark from single A, double A, and Dietrich Park for its age and its history is an exquisite ballpark. And I think that, if you've never been to a Tarp Skunks game, there is a magic that happens when you walk through that gate. You do feel that sense of community. You do feel that sense of Tarp Skunks pride, and it's addicting. It is very addicting, and there's an intangible quality about this team, from the management to the coaching staff to the players to the community, that I honestly think that while a Tarp Skunks game is happening, the world could fall completely apart around and nobody would care because everybody's focus is between those white lines.
Absolutely. Jason, thank you very much for that. That's I mean, that should be like in a movie or something, the way you just described that. Thank you so much. Jason, like, to be a part of this new era of the baseball and the broadcast, what does that mean to you?
Well, I think the legacy of baseball in Jamestown, as Greg Peterson will tell you, or Randy Anderson from the Sports Hall of Fame, you can fill 3 hours and not even scratch the surface of all the magical things that have happened. So for me to see the Tarp Skunks continue that legacy this year and into the future is very important, because it builds memories for residents, for kids, adults, retired individuals, people of all ages want to come down to the ballpark. They want to, take part in America's pastime and watch a game, maybe talk with your friend in between innings and all that. And that's something that is hard to find anywhere else except in the ballpark on a summer evening watching a ball game. So for me, it's extremely important to have this quality of life aspect here in Jamestown taking place in the form of the Jamestown Tarp Skunks. So, like I said, growing up, it was a magical part of my upbringing going out of the ballpark, and I think it's just as important to see that continue through the Tarp Skunks for kids today, but even adults like myself who, I know I like to volunteer and help out with the team as much as possible, but sometimes I just want to go sit in the bleachers, feel the sun hitting me in the face, watching the baseball take place, maybe enjoy a cold beverage or two, and just let the day pass by. And there's nothing quite like it in the summertime at Dietrich Park. So it means a lot to me.
Yeah, we agree so much on that. I've been there with my boys, my wife, and my family too. And you
never know who you're going to run into.
Right.
I mean, some people you haven't seen for years, you see at the ballpark. So it's almost like a homecoming of sorts.
Sure.
Where you just, I saw a friend of mine that I graduated with from high school in Falconer, Tim Simpson. I hadn't seen him in 25 years.
Right.
But he had moved back into town, and he was there with his family.
Yep.
And he and I had a chance to catch up. I saw my cousin, who you would think we see all the time, but no, he lives in Jamestown. I live in Jamestown. We don't see each other that much.
Sure.
Except we always run into each other at the ballpark, and then we'll sit down and then catch up on how the family's doing and all that stuff. So it really is just a great opportunity for fans of baseball, but just residents to get together and enjoy the atmosphere.
Absolutely. Hey, Dre, you said you were been involved, I think, for 3 years with the Skunks.
One year with the Skunks, been in Jamestown for 3.
Been in Jamestown with 3, 1 year with the Skunks. What your role has it always been with the broadcasting and stuff like that? I mean,
yeah. So I, through Ed Tomasini, who was actually one of my instructors for Intro to TV over at JCC, he and I had gotten to talking when classes first start, and he had mentioned that he was involved in the Tarp Skunks. And that they were thinking about doing something different with the broadcast booth. And, because during the introductions, one of the first things that I told them is that, I've been doing broadcasting for 30 years.
Yep.
I started at Chabot College in 1995. And for 7 years, essentially oversaw the television and radio sports production. And it wasn't because of the faculty was behind it. It was because the coaches appreciated the amount of work that my team put in to get those games on the air and give their players exposure. Where I learned the most, though, about broadcasting was actually in professional wrestling down in Atlanta.
Okay.
And there's so much, stigma, I guess, with pro wrestling. Yeah, it's fake, and all of that. But, especially from the behind the camera aspect, there's so much that goes into it that applies not only to a pro wrestling broadcast, but a baseball broadcast, but life lessons.
Yeah.
And I was able to bring that in last year. And I don't know, I've been lucky in my career that whenever I'm paired with somebody new, we generally develop instant chemistry.
Sure.
And we're able to work well together. I thought Matty G, for his first year, actually being behind a microphone and doing this, coming from a player standpoint to a broadcaster standpoint, did a very good job.
Sure.
And it's things like that, though, where I wasn't really sure what my role with the team was. Yes, I was brought in to be, one of the play-by-play announcers, but, do I mentor Matty? How much do I mentor and how much do I get involved with the team? And, last year, I think one of the biggest regrets that I had was I didn't really introduce myself to the players.
Yep.
I didn't, I wasn't as interactive with the players because, one, I didn't want, I didn't want to impose myself on, while they're trying to do their things. And that's something that I learned from, being in the industry is you have to pick your shots where you can get in and ask a couple of quick questions, or, you can walk into a room and read the room. It's like, okay, this is not a good time, so I'm going to go get a Coke and a smile and come back in about 15 minutes and try to figure it out. And this year, I guess my role is I haven't really had these conversations with Christian.
Yeah.
And I told Maddie this in a conversation on the phone. It's, when you go in as an intern, you're expected to do a job. But what the people that bring you in as an intern is not only how well do you do the job that they brought you in for, but can you find 4 or 5 more jobs that they didn't know needed to be done, and then do those jobs and show that you have more value than just, hey, I'm a play-by-play guy and that's it. No, I bring play-by-play, graphic, and it just all sorts of different aspects to it, and I'm always trying to keep myself busy. So Well, my role, I guess, is defined as play-by-play.
Yep.
I consider myself a multi-tool,
Sure.
Swiss Army knife. Whatever they need, I do.
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up. Like when we're doing broadcasts, and I obviously with me struggling to read a teleprompter, we'll joke about that. Where Melina and Gia are two experts, or the other kids that sit here. But I do that too. Like when you say you don't get a chance to interact or whatever, when things are going on, broadcasts or whatever, I'm so lost in, did the kid get water? And somebody will say, how do you think it went? And I'm like, I really don't know. I'll have to watch it later to see. Same thing with the parade. I mean, Jason, you've been involved with us as a mentor at CCS-TV and a huge part of the baseball game last year, Christmas in July. You were in the booth with Aaron. As far as the Skunks go and our student broadcasting, what's your opinion on this point, what we're trying to do here?
I think it's wonderful. I know that when I was young, the age of the kids that you're working with, I didn't have the opportunities that they have now, and I think they're very fortunate to have what you're providing for them, so thank you for doing that.
Well,
it really helps prepare them if they want to get into broadcasting and get into some type of communications field to have this experience at a young age in their formative years and carry it with them. So what you're doing is huge,
thank you.
and gives them a leg up in trying to be somewhat competitive when they go out and find a career, maybe 10 years later. Maybe some of these kids are only 12 years old and they still have 10 years to go. But I mean, that's 10 years of experience that I didn't have. I didn't really know anything about broadcasting until I went to college and started studying broadcast journalism, started taking courses about how to conduct interviews or how to control a video camera. By that time, I was 22 years old, 21 years old. So it's wonderful what you're doing here. And when I found out what you were doing, and when I was asked if I would be happy or work with some of the students in a mentoring capacity, I thought sure, because I never had that opportunity. There really wasn't a lot of opportunities like that, in the 1990s, and probably beforehand. So the fact that you're doing this now, I'm all in. I think it's important to have, and not just for kids who want to get into broadcasting or want to get into video production, but kids that want to be confident in what they're doing. And when you get in front of a camera, it's like deer in the headlights. That's why I'm a radio guy. I always tell people, I always just, space out whenever I'm in front of a camera. I always enjoy just being behind a microphone. Nobody's seeing me, sort of that feeling of anonymity. But when you're in front of a camera and you present yourself well, you speak well, or when you're behind the camera and working with the talent, so to speak, it brings so much confidence to you to the next level, no matter what you're doing. If you're working in a team capacity in any line of work, whether it be broadcasting or just working with some folks in a restaurant business, or no matter what you do later on in your life, you've developed a skill set, a unique skill set that will take you very far. So this is a skill set builder, not just for people who want to get into communications and broadcasting and video production, but for anybody who wants to be successful in any line of work they do. So I think it's a great program to be involved with. And I was involved with the Tarp Skunks since 2021 as the manager of WRFA Radio. We wanted to broadcast the games on the radio, and we worked with college interns because I felt it was important to give college students an opportunity to apply their craft on broadcasting. We had some really great talent from West Virginia University, Syracuse University, some smaller colleges as well. But now to take that and bring it down to students here from the Jamestown area who aren't even in college yet is huge. And the quality doesn't diminish. If anything, I think it sells itself because so many people in the community want to see their friends and their families, children, or even their own children part of this production. So hats off to you all, and I'm happy to be a part of it.
Thank you. That's the team aspect too. That we go from carrying equipment in to setting it up.
We haven't even mentioned Justin Gould yet.
No, gosh,
I know you always sing Justin's praises, so we don't have to go that far. But he really is a guiding star as well for these students in terms of his mentorship, both in front of the camera and how to do the video. He's a jack of all trades.
It's it is, and I will take a second to talk about that. Justin is Justin and Danny and the other mentors we've had. They have this vision that I'm old. I just can't wrap my arms around it, my hands around it, but they have this vision to connect with these kids. And for a guy that's taught for 30 years that could connect to kids, I can't connect to them here, but I'm able to watch them do that. It's really interesting to me to watch how they do that, just in a different format, in a different production or teaching and stuff like that. So when we come back, we're diving into some favorite memories from Dietrich Park and looking ahead to what fans can expect this season on and off the field. Stay with us. You're watching CCS TV's Community Conversation.
Our generation has a choice. Turn away from the world's problems or chase them down. We refuse to sit back and watch them pass us by. Watch us fly ahead. Rise to every challenge and overcome anything. Watch us become the next greatest generation.
What's life like in Chautauqua County? It's where small-town charm meets world-class culture, where your downtime gets an upgrade across miles of lakes, state parks, and vibrant local vineyards, where you can live the high life at a low cost as your dollars go further and your roots grow deeper. Whether you're building a business or advancing your career, settling down or settling up, choose Chautauqua County, where every step you take is toward the life you love. Start your next chapter at livechq.org.
Conversation. I'm Patrick Smeraldo. If you're just joining us, we're talking all things Tarp Skunks and the exciting summer ahead for baseball in Jamestown with help from our friends at Chautauqua Sports Hall of Fame and our very own student broadcasters. I'm joined by Jason Sample, a veteran broadcaster and mentor with CCS TV, and Dre Guinness, the play-by-play Tarp Skunks announcer for the 2025 season. Before the break, we talked about how long you guys had been connected to baseball here in Jamestown. Let's shift a little bit in conversation. Everyone spent their time at Dietrich Park, and that's one thing that for you, Jason, that stands out about your time. One thing.
We were doing the game in 2021. It was the inaugural season of the Tarp Skunks because they didn't do anything in 2020 due to the pandemic. Yep. And I was a producer of a radio broadcast, but it was Norm Rodriguez who was our play-by-play talent at the time, along with Dan Millay, who was a Syracuse University intern who was a professional. Syracuse, you know you're getting top shelf stuff, and this kid was great. But we had a game that went back and forth, and I think it was the Batavia Muck Dogs, and this game went down to the top of the ninth inning. Batavia tied it up. It got to the bottom of the ninth inning. Jamestown took the lead, but it was a walk-off victory for Jamestown. I'll never forget it. It happened to be a runner on second with 2 outs, a batter at the plate. An outfielder dropped a fly ball in out of bounds, so that kept the inning going, and then a wild pitch happened. So the runner at second runs around third base, and he sees he has an opportunity to take home. He fell down midway between third and home, got up, fell down again. In the meantime, Norm Rodriguez and Dan Millay are just losing their mind about this, the whole thing transcribing. So it was a double steal or a stolen base, third and home, due to a wild pitch in a walk-off fashion, and it was Justin Bailey was the name of the player who did that. But Greg Peterson loved it. He plays it in all of his highlight reels, and it really was just anything can happen at the ballpark kind of a play where, you know, you see a walk-off home run or you see a walk-off single, and these things happen. It's exciting. But the way that they won this game with 2 outs, a dropped fly ball, and then a runner at second, happened to steal third and saw the opportunity and a chance to win the game by taking home. But falling down and still getting up, falling down again and getting up, it was awesome. it was an amazing play, and the stadium went nuts, obviously.
Yeah, it stuck with you to this day.
Yeah, everybody mobbed the field, and it was just very exciting, and you could feel the energy and the electricity in the air with that victory and that walk-off, and that was kind of like the way the Skunks presented themselves all season. You never know what's going to happen at a Skunks game, so you better show up and watch.
If I remember correctly, too, there wasn't a lot going on that summer, so those games were always really packed. I mean, the Skunks were like the ones still happening.
During the pandemic. You weren't even coming out of the pandemic, and at least then, the things were getting loosened, and you were allowed to go out and sit next to each other.
Right.
10 feet apart.
Yeah.
So you're right. Yeah, that was a very
those
special
were some big games back then
for the public and the community to come out of the pandemic.
That's awesome.
And get together.
What a memory. Dre, you've been behind the mic for a lot of baseball here in Jamestown, all last year. Is there a memory from like the last season that is a never forget thing for you? That just meant something to you last year, a memory that you carry?
Yeah, there's actually a number of them, but I'll narrow it down to two quick ones. One in the moment and then one hindsight. In the moment would obviously, for me, be Austin Matranga's walk-off single to beat Auburn. For me personally, that was my first ever walk-off call, so I mean that will live with me. But I mean, there's just something about, being able to express the feeling of the ballpark through the broadcast when something like that happens. That was the first time that I had ever experienced it, and I definitely got lost in that moment.
Yep.
And it's something that will always stick with me. But I think the one in hindsight that I think means more to me now that I've heard the story was Steven Scarfone's home run in the Beat Cancer game, the strikeout cancer game.
Yep.
Because the story that I was told, and I'm still trying to reach out to Steven to confirm this, is that he had actually, I think, lost his mother or an aunt or a very close loved one to cancer, and that home run meant, the world to him. And as soon as I hear that story, I'm immediately thinking of in the major leagues, Dallas Braden throwing the perfect game or the no-hitter on Mother's Day in Oakland.
Yep.
So, I mean, and being able to attach moments in history from way back then to something that's happening right in front of you, I think is even more special.
Yeah. And those off the field things, I mean, we talk a lot about that, Dre, what happens, on the field. But there's something about that summer evening atmosphere, at Dietrich Park, and traditions and unexpected surprises that make those broadcasts, very special. And you just talked about a very, very special one, and that's the thing. Jason, you've been in a lot of press boxes, right? And even at Dietrich Park. But what makes, I guess, covering a Tarp Skunks game different from other sports or even in baseball events in general? Like you've touched on it a little bit, but just being up there and overlooking Dietrich Park, what makes that so special?
Well, you say I've been in a lot of press boxes, and I always kid with people I want to do a coffee table book about all of the high school press boxes I've been in over the years, because you really have some amazing places. You're like, how in the world would they even want me to be in this building, let alone broadcast a game from it? But I digress. And also Dietrich Park has a commode in the press box with a window that opens up. And
I don't know if I knew that.
It had its own baseball card, from what I understand.
Get out!
One of the few press boxes in the world that has a commode where the window opens up and you could actually watch a game if you really wanted to. Not that anyone ever has.
I didn't know that.
But
note to self.
Things you learn at the ballpark. No, I've done broadcasts at the college level and high school level, and of course with Jamestown and the perfect collegiate baseball league. But it's special there, again, only because this is a place that I went to so often when I was young. I mean, it's just, I understand what it means to have that activity taking place in that field, because I watched it over decades taking place, and to be able to be up in the press box and explaining to listeners or viewers who aren't able to be in the ballpark what has happened, like Dre had just mentioned, you want to capture and convey the energy to the listener or the viewer. And that's really important. So to be up in Dietrich Park, I mean, it's a historic ballpark. It's second to none as far as other ballparks in the league for the perfect collegiate baseball league. And then just the connection that I have with it, being there so often when I was young, and now to be able to be up in the press box.
Sure.
I don't ever take it for granted to be like, wow, I mean, some people say, hey, you make the big time when you go to Yankee Stadium. For me,
right.
I make the big time when I get to be up in the press box of a ballpark that meant so much to me growing up.
Yeah, that's what a fond memory to carry. And But in doing that, when you talk, and you've probably had this happen to you, Dre, I'm convinced you have as well, like today, like I've never really sat in this seat to do this off a teleprompter, so I get caught off guard by things. What have you gotten caught off guard with? Like, you know, is maybe a funny moment or a mishap turned, you know, and just a something?
I usually catch, this is going to sound strange, but I usually catch myself off guard. Because there are times where you get into the flow of the game and talking about certain things, and I know I've hit that zone that it's some people call it the butter zone or whatever, but I hit a zone where I'll just start talking, and I have no idea the words that are coming out of my mouth, and then I'll hear like the last thing that I say, and I was like, what did I just say? You know, in my head. And I can usually, based off the person that I'm working with, if they're chuckling or laughing or something, I'm okay. If I get that looks like, oh, I'm going to have a meeting after the
Sure.
No, I mean, from a broadcast perspective, it's, you know, you walk in, the motto of the Boy Scouts, be prepared. The motto of, you know, being a broadcaster is expect the unexpected. You know, last year we had rain delays. We had the lighting tower go out for 20 minutes.
Sure.
And, you know, the one thing that, as an announcer, is that when something happens like that, you have to figure out a way to turn it from being a potential negative to a humorous situation. Yeah. You know, and, you know, because I think the audience will react to that. If you're like, oh man, the lights turned out again, I can't believe, you know, they're going to automatically have an impression of, well, you know, maybe the stadium's falling apart because he's so down on it. No. It's like, hey, the lights went off. Well, the pitcher that they just pulled out of the game threw 12 straight balls. You know, maybe the stadium decided that his night was over, and that was the universe's way of saying, get the showers, get him next time, big guy. So, I mean, yeah, it's really, I worry more about what comes out of my mouth than what happens on the field.
To tell you, to be honest with you, I mean, this is just my take on that. I've been called into that office one other time. About many years ago, Tom Ames and Tom does high school football games, and I was helping him do some games, and one season, this was years ago, and we were at Rich Stadium doing a game, and I became too much of a fan at that point, and I was like not rooting for a team, but I was really into the game, and we went to a commercial break, and he's like, what are you doing? Like, we're not fans, we're broadcasting. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I got all wrapped up. And to this day, we joke about that 30 years later. He's like, hey, remember that day? And I'm like, oh yeah, that was like, we don't talk about what I did, but it was silly, and I got really wrapped up to it. I forgot what I was doing. I was into the game, and you kind of got to catch your composure.
We were always taught that too, that you want to maintain a certain level of objectivity, especially as a news reporter, right?
Absolutely.
But even in broadcasting, even when you're with the home team, you can certainly get more excited when something good happens for the home team, but don't be so blatantly obvious that a listener who might be neutral or, heaven forbid, from the other team listening and hear you disparaging somebody from their team or saying, wow, I'm glad that person struck out. You know, you really have to be somewhat objective and still let people know you're a homer, but do it in there's a fine line between professionally broadcasting and being a homer and also just totally falling off the edge and cheering on when something bad happens to the other team, because there are people who are listening that might not be rooting for the people that you're working for. And I used to always have to tell Norman that all the time. It's like, Norman, you know, we got to remember that we're here to broadcast for everybody, not just for fans. And we're not fans, we're broadcasters.
Right.
Well, I mean, I will add one caveat to that. When the Batavia Muck Dogs come into town, I am a homer. I don't know what it is about the rivalry, and I question myself, you know, is this a real rivalry? Is this something I'm making up in my head? No, I legitimately do not like the Batavia Muck Dogs. Right. So I will carry that across.
Get you a little bit,
They are my evil empire.
Right,
I
get that.
them every single time. You know, Geneva, Newark, Niagara Falls, the Niagara Ironbacks, when they come in, hey, let's have a good game, let's have fun. Muck Dogs come in, I want them beaten, mercied. Fourth inning, done.
Kids, if you're listening at home, I'm just joking. When we come back, we're taking you inside the ballpark experience, and the unforgettable games, standout players, and why this year's Tarp Skunks team, led by local favorites Christian Dulce and Frank Jagoda, has fans counting down to opening night. Stick around, we've got plenty more ahead on CCS-TV Community Conversation.
CCS TV, empowering voices, inspiring futures.
Looking to feed the family, the whole team, or just your own hungry self? Honest John's has you covered. We're talking fresh-made subs, crispy wings, and pizza so good you might just start happy dancing. Trust Honest John's for takeout, delivery, and easy online ordering so you can get the goods without lifting more than a finger. Or stop in for our famous all-you-can-eat pizza buffet. From crispy wings to cheesy pies, Honest John's satisfies. Order now at honestjohns.pizza.
Schultz is the place where you can not only find your next new car, you can customize it exactly how you want it. Build a vehicle from one of your favorite brands, secure rebates and incentives, and expect delivery within 6 to 8 weeks. Get the keys to your ride in-store or in your own driveway and enjoy a year of complimentary Schultz Auto Care. Walk in to view our exciting inventory of vehicles arriving daily, or schedule your digital consultation online today to discover why we say you can't beat a Schultz deal.
At Wegmans, we've crafted our new sandwiches with layers and layers of deliciousness. Each one is made fresh with our very best ingredients, like hearty breads made with grains from near our stores, premium cheeses, and freshly carved meats. We've packed big, delicious flavor into every bite for sandwiches that are endlessly good.
This CCS TV program is proudly sponsored by the Chautauqua Sports Hall of Fame, honoring and preserving the rich sports history of Chautauqua County, New York.
TV Community Conversation. I'm Patrick Smeraldo here with Jason Sample and Dre Guinness, talking all things Tarp Skunks as we get ready for the 2025 season. We've touched on a few partnerships of the energy around opening night, but now let's take a little deep dive into the game action. Dre, what individual talent from years past? Who are some that have made an impression, on you and on the field?
Well, I mean, I'll keep my experience to what I called last year.
Sure.
And I think that I don't think you can really point to one individual talent. I think that you have to look at the whole body of work. Last year we had 4 players that finished with over a 300 batting average.
Okay.
With over 90 at-bats for the season, which is the first time that's happened with the Jamestown Tarp Skunks. And you're talking Kobe Jones, Bobby Stang, Eli Harpelani, and Henry Juwan. You had 2 pitchers that finished sub-2 ERA after pitching 40 innings or more, and that was Shaniel Maldonado and Gage Hayes. But, just stats aside, if you're looking at personality, Tommy Schroeder, who I actually met once for maybe 3 minutes, became one of my favorite players to talk about. Okay. Just because of his antics on the field.
Yep.
He played the game the way I love to see baseball players play. Have fun, be yourself, but be professional.
Yeah, it's awesome. Jason, same question to you. For a guy, you think back on to say, wow, that kid is something, and not even just last year, of any year. Like what?
Yeah, I'll be honest, 2024, I didn't have an opportunity to watch the team as much as I did in 2021, 22, and 23. But that 21 team was special. They had Johnny Campus, who was a catcher, but also the team captain.
Yep.
And he was like a spark plug, right? He knew how to fire the team up. He delivered when it counted to. He had a couple of home runs throughout the season, had a walk-off, if I'm not mistaken. There was Luke Turner, who also had a couple of home runs. But they had one outfielder by the name of Hayden Hunt, who had 23 stolen bases, and he left right near the end of that first week of July.
Sure.
So it wasn't even now imagine they're playing 50 games throughout the season, or maybe a little bit more than that. But here's a kid that knew how to steal, did it regularly. Jordan Bazile, the coach at the time, loved to steal bases, and he had a Ricky Henderson for collegiate baseball in Hayden Hunt, who we wish would have stayed. We think the Tarp Skunks might have been able to win the championship that year.
Yeah.
It had Hayden stuck around, but he had to leave and go back to Tennessee at the time. And I can remember just looking forward to seeing Hayden get on the base paths, because you never knew where he would end up once he got walked or got a base hit.
Yeah.
And he could get a wicked hit once in a while as well. So those are some names that really stick out to me, is Johnny Campus and Hayden Hunt back in 2021.
And you touch on that, like the fact that, my son, he's 15 now, but he's one of those guys. He was like you were when you were at that age. He's down there checking out all this team, and he'll check out the roster before, and he'll even check out like where they come from, Texas or wherever. So it's amazing that we bring all this talent from around the country here. We do have some local talent this year. I want to talk to you, guy, Dre. During the 2025 season, we're going to have a local kid. I know his parents really well, Ben and Jen. And tell me a little bit about Branson Lindquist.
So Branson Lindquist, I've been doing some research on him via perfectgame.org and a lot of the Max Prep scouting sites.
Yep.
From what I can tell from his scouting report, he is an elite level catcher at the high school level. How that translates into his first year of playing collegiate ball, especially during the summer league, I think is going to be an interesting story to play out. I think he is in a very unique opportunity here because as being the local face of the local talent, he's put in a position where he's essentially going to be the face of the organization, but he's also going to be the liaison for all these guys that are going to be coming from out of state.
Yep.
How to integrate into the community. Where do you go to find a job? Where do you go? Best place to eat? Best pizza place in town? There's a lot of different things that. Having somebody as basically the team ambassador on the roster and coming in with that high school elite level of play, I think it's a story that will be told through the entirety of the season. I'm sure he and I are going to have a few sit-down conversations throughout the season. And I think really that is, it's a brilliant move for a community baseball team.
Well, you touch on that, and I think, teams do that, right? And I've seen that, like either college basketball teams or whatever. They bring that local kid in to get that local attraction. In Branson's case, he is a local kid, but he's an incredibly talented baseball player. Like he belongs there. He doesn't believe there. He belongs to be there.
He's not an attraction. He's a talent.
Yeah, he's played in I think the last 2 Babe Ruth World Series. He said at his presser that time. I mean, when you look at a kid like that's talented and come up, that's a prideful thing that we should celebrate in our country. We do have some great baseball players, and for this kid to come back and spend his summer here, and I know he goes to school in Buffalo. He's going to go to, I think I want to say it was Akron, or I may be like Toledo. I apologize. Maybe it's Toledo. Yeah. But I mean, he belongs there, and he is not belong there. He's a leader, and he's a great kid. I mean, I've known of him since he was a look at, watch him play, and I know his parents and stuff like that.
I'll say that Dietrich Park might be, as close to flawless as you're going to find a ballpark. But if there is a flaw, Branson will know about it because he's played there so frequently.
Absolutely.
You can tell the other players, hey, there's a little divot out there in left
Absolutely.
center you might want to watch out for. I've seen people, not that happens at that ballpark, but I could see him also knowing the stadium well enough to share details with his teammates.
Great kid, super family. Great family.
Well, I shouldn't say I played Little League with Ben because Ben played Little League. I sat on the bench and watched Ben. But we were on the same team, Village Pharmacy in Falconer all those years ago. And Ben, it's great family. His dad, Ray, has done so much for the Little League community in Falconer area.
True.
And it's multi-generations, that family, when it comes to the connection of local baseball. It's great to see it continue with Branson.
Just to fit in right to Dietrich Park. We mentioned earlier how much energy this team brings to the ballpark on the field and in the crowd. What makes a Tarp Skunks game at Dietrich Park just a memorable experience, just a great experience? Dre, what makes a Tarp Skunks game so memorable?
It's everything. I mean, just sitting in the stands, you're looking out into the outfield, you have that beautiful view of the range out there. I mean, I can't think of a more perfect backdrop for this environment than that. The weather is absolutely beautiful here during the summer, which, energizes the fans because they're not sitting out in 115-degree temperatures with 98% humidity and suffering. So the environment is enjoyable. Those fans bring that energy, and when the Tarp Skunks come on the field, the fans feed the Skunks the energy, the Skunks feed it right back. It's like the alternator in a car, man. It keeps charging itself every inning. And by the time you get to that 9th inning, you'd expect, the fans are getting tired, the players are getting tired, and no. It's like a nonstop adrenaline, caffeine, IV right in the veins. Until that final out. And then even when people are filing out of the ballpark, there's still a buzz.
Yeah.
So there is nothing that you can say negatively about going to Dietrich Park and experiencing a ball game. It is the perfect event.
And I'm fired up now, but with the home opener, just around the corner, which is on Thursday, May 29th, 6:30. Jason, what are we looking forward to that first pitch? Like if it's just tomorrow, like what are we looking forward to? Just the...
Well, you get quality entertainment for any person of any age, and whether you're interested in baseball or not. Sometimes families will come down and maybe mom or little Jimmy isn't quite into the game as much as possible, but there's so much more to do besides just watching. I mean, I'm going to go there to watch baseball.
Yep.
But there's more things to do. Sometimes that people watch. Do that as well. Why does Grandpa like the people? Now, the older I get, the more I'm like, yeah, it is fun just to watch people interact with each other. But you can people watch. There's activities between every inning for the kids. They have a Christian and his team. And even back when it goes way back to when it was the Expos and the Jammers, they always found activities in between games to keep the kids entertained and give them something to do. And contests, the putt-putt with the Timbits or the hot dog races and all that. I mean, they've always got something going on there. And so it really is not just going there to watch baseball. It's almost like a circus where there's all kinds of things happening, all different activities. It's something great for your senses. You can smell the food, you can watch the action on the field, you can listen to people bantering. It's just an exciting time, and there's nothing like going to the ballpark. That's for sure.
That's true.
So that's what you can expect, not just opening day,
right?
But every day. But opening day is always fun because they always have that special person throwing out the first pitch.
Sure.
It's a little bit more electricity that first night because you've been waiting so long, months.
Yeah.
Since last August.
You mentioned that there's so much preparation. I just want to touch on that for a second too. With the two local guys that head this up. Christian Doles, former fifth grade phys ed student of mine. That's how old I am. Christian's a great kid. He works his tail off in many aspects of this, putting this whole thing together. And Frank Jagoda obviously coming back too. Just two local county guys working together and putting an incredible experience for everybody at the park is to me, because Christian, I know he's doing a lot with sponsors or putting up banners in the outfit. I mean, there's so much that goes into this. And you mentioned 50 games, but 50 games are squished right into 2 months. End of May, by August 1st, we're looking at playoffs.
It seems like the end of July is going to be a long ways off, but that first game in the end of May, early June, and then time just flies right by before you know it's over with. But I just want to say too, with Christian especially, is that the higher up you go with any type of event like this, sports, you're going to find that there's more people to help you out. But at the lower level, it's really a one-man production, a one-man show. And he does a phenomenal job with the limited resources. He's got a lot of help, but still, he's got to see everything. And he must put in some long days with all days off.
Yeah, thank you guys. That's great stuff. It's all part of what makes Tarp Skunks baseball such a special experience here in Chautauqua County. But there's another layer to all this, and that's the role that CCS-TV is going to play in this action. An experience and with mentoring our student broadcasters during the Christmas and July game. And Dre, you're about to be a big part of that journey this summer. When we come back, we're going to talk about the CCS-TV model, why it's so important, baseball around the corner, and another episode of this CCTV Community Conversation.
Welcome to the Chautauqua Sports Hall of Fame, located at 15 West 3rd Street in Jamestown. Visitors will see photographs, awards, apparel, and other sports memorabilia. We invite all visitors to stop in the Chautauqua Sports Hall of Fame and learn about the sports history of Chautauqua County.
What's life like in Chautauqua County? It's where small-town charm meets world-class culture, where your downtime gets an upgrade across miles of lakes, state parks, and vibrant local vineyards, where you can live the high life at a low cost as your dollars go further and your roots grow deeper. Whether you're building a business or advancing your career, settling down or settling up, choose Chautauqua County, where every step you take is toward the life you love. Start your next chapter at livechq.org.
We get how uncertain the future is. We've come of age in a complex world, face to face with problems we didn't create. So what's going to happen next? We are. Because our future is the future. So we're going to build bridges and hospitals in a day and feed those left in the cold. We're going to do all this and more because we have an appointment with destiny.
Welcome back to CCS TV's Community Conversation. I'm Patrick Smeraldo from Collaborative Children's Solutions, joined by Jason Sample and Dre Guinness as we talk about the 2025 Tarp Skunks season and the incredible partnership that comes with CCS TV. Before the break, we talked about baseball memories, standout players, and what's ahead for the summer. Now let's shift gears a little because it's about the broadcast, just about covering the game. It's about building a platform of young people and giving back to the community and just learning from the pros. So Jason, last summer, in 2024, you were in the booth with CCS TV's broadcasters Aaron Enquist for the Christmas and July game. What was your take on that experience, and there's anything about that experience that took you by surprise?
Well, just how well prepared that Aaron was in doing the broadcast really took me by surprise. You know, you're asking me to do a broadcast with a student, younger student, and I'm wondering, well, how much do they know, or how well are they going to be able to manage their ability to maintain 9 innings of baseball and broadcasting? Sure. I mean, it's a marathon, not a sprint when you do a baseball game, right? But she was a professional. She did a wonderful job, and I was just totally impressed with the preparation that went into getting her ready to do the broadcast and how much she was willing to listen to guidance and instruction from me and really look toward me. You know, I mean, I just do it because I enjoy calling a baseball game. I don't really think about the mentoring side of things, but I thought about it during and then afterward, especially like, wow, these kids really lean on me and look at me to try to explain to them what's going on, and I was really impressed with not only her ability to help broadcast the game, but also her looking toward instruction and guidance and really willing to listen to any pointers I would give. So that was really a special thing for me, and you know, I look forward to helping out any way I can this season as well. I know absolutely. Dre will be doing it as well, and he'll be doing a super job. But for me, that was special. It's just making that connection with a student and somebody who wanted to get into broadcasting and helping them along the way.
Yeah, Erin has that baseball experience from that older brother of hers. But she all the kids really take well to that.
She really knew a lot about the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
Dre, this year you'll be in a similar mentoring role, working alongside our student broadcasters all season long. What are you most looking forward to as you step into that role?
I think the thing that I'm most excited about is I get to be the resource that I wish I had when I started.
Yep.
You know, you see a lot of these online and on TV. Learn to be a sportscaster. Go to this school. Spend $70,000. Yep. I can tell you that I have learned more about broadcasting just from being around broadcasting than I ever learned in a classroom. Mm-hmm. And it's little things. It's like, so as a play-by-play announcer, how do you get good at doing play-by-play? Well, you call games. Well, there's only so many games that you can call during a season. That's nonsense. Right. I tell anybody that if you're trying to get into broadcasting while you're in the shower, while you're brushing your teeth, while you're riding your bike or driving your car, while you're playing baseball on the Xbox or the PlayStation, mm-hmm. you have so many opportunities to practice. And it's not just about, you know, first inning to the last inning, situations. And I can tell you from experience, I've worked with a lot of people that, you know, the biggest situation in baseball that they have a problem with is a ball hit into the gap, one of the power alleys. Because that especially if there's runners on base, because that introduces so many different factors as to what's going on mm-hmm. that you have to figure out, you know, where to divide your time from when the ball lands to who's rounding what to where the ball is to, you know, where your eyes are really moving. And when you start talking and trying to match your speed of your voice with what your eyes are seeing is when you stumble. So that is where, you know, you have to start learning how to self-edit while you're broadcasting.
While you're doing it, right?
You know, ball hit to the gap, could be extra bases. We have a runner coming around third, he's going to score. Ball's picked up, being thrown back in. Runner's coming around third, he blows the stop sign.
Right.
If you're able to see that in time and get that out. But you're not, it's economy of words.
Yeah.
Don't say in 15 what you can say in 6.
Right.
And you know, just little tips like that, little things that I can do to help, from my experience that I wish I had known when I was doing it.
Sure.
The things that I can try to bring to that table and give to these kids is extremely exciting for me.
That's exciting for us too as well, because that's what we want, right? I mean, that on the job experience is what we're looking for, and to work with a couple pros, that's what we're looking for. So at CCS TV, we talk a lot about learning by doing, just what we're talking about, whether it's in front of the camera or behind the scenes. Why do you think giving people these, this real world experience is so important? Jason, why is that? We talked about it a little bit, but why is this so important?
Yeah, like I had mentioned earlier on, it's just giving them that experience that they can use in any way, shape, or form, not just in a career capacity, but even interacting with other people. Whether you're a member of the local Rotary Club, you feel more confident when you're doing this public speaking thing. So this is laying the groundwork for these kids to be able to take a skill set and utilize it and leverage it for just about anything that they're going to do for the remainder of their life. And that's something special that not a lot of kids have the opportunity to do in a lot of communities, but through what you're doing here, and especially with this specific program with the Tarp Skunks, it gives these kids the ability to listen to direction if they're running a camera, or to learn how to explain things, as Dre noted, when conveying what's happening on the field. All of those are, again, ways that keep your mind thinking, keep the gears going, and it allows you to build a skill set that you can then use for any other way, shape, or form. So it's just a very special opportunity for the kids.
Yeah, and you've already had the chance to mentor in the booth. I guess the simplest thing is, what advice would you give, in doing a game to a kid?
I just tell them that it's, not the game day, but it's the preparation building up to the game. Do your homework, realize who the players are, figure out how to pronounce everybody's name, whether they're a starter or not. Really spend time ahead of time. For every hour of broadcasting, you probably want to spend, and maybe Dre has a different philosophy, but at least 2 to 3 hours of homework, just so you have familiarity and practice and experience, and it sounds professional. It really is. Like the old saying goes, you spend a lot of time. I think of Allen Iverson going, we're talking about practice, right? But practice is very important. It is a key part of delivering on game day. And not just for the players on the field, but the folks in the booth or the folks behind the camera. Practice, practice, practice. Put your all into practice, because then when it comes time to actually deliver on game day, you're going to do it. And that's the advice that I always give students, is always put a lot into the effort before you even go on the air.
Yeah, Dre, what do you have done then?
I would say also keep your paperwork.
Yeah.
Have a notebook, have your notes written down there,
Sure.
especially if you're a broadcaster. Look, if you're a broadcaster on TV, no one can see you. Read out of the book. No one cares. It's better to have too much information than not enough. And carry that with you, because, like all my notes from last season, I will be carrying in my bag with me this season, because it's a good historical reference. Or, you might have some downtime. You have everything set up, you're ready to go. You might have some downtime. You start flipping through something. You might see a note that, I remember that. And, hey, something similar happened a couple of days ago. Maybe I can tie that in. And you're developing stories.
Right.
It's not just about, let me give you the stats, let me give you the information. You have to develop a rapport, not only with the person that you're working with, but with the people that you're listening to on TV. Because if you are not putting forth a quality effort, the people that are listening will hear that and they'll tune out.
Right. Thank you. Both of you, appreciate you. What a conversation. Big thanks to Jason Sample and to Dre Guinness for joining us tonight here and sharing the passion for baseball, broadcasting, and our local community. We covered a lot, from unforgettable moments at Dietrich Park to the players who left a mark, from local leadership in the Tarp Skunks organization to the mentorship that makes CCS TV broadcasters such a special experience for our youth. As we look ahead to the 2025 season, we're proud to continue our partnership with the Jamestown Tarp Skunks, the Chautauqua Sports Hall of Fame, by bringing you every home game live right here on CCS TV. And if you're out there watching, you're a local business, member, a fan, we invite you to be part of the story. You can support our student broadcasting program by purchasing advertising package for this year's campaign. To learn more, visit ccs-tv.com. Fuel the programs like the Tarp Skunks baseball that give young people a platform to learn and shine I'm Patrick Smeraldo. Thanks for watching this CCS TV Community Conversation. We'll see you next time.
When I heard about this club, I was so excited because I haven't heard of anything else. And as a kid, I've been wanting to get involved in media, so I'm ready for when I'm an adult in that field. So to hear that there was something, and it was in our local area of Jamestown, that was really cool. Normally, when you hear about things, you have to go to the bigger cities like Buffalo, or even as far as New York City, to get really involved. If people want to learn more, you just have to go to ccs-tv.com.
This is CCS TV, empowering voices, inspiring futures.